FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Stuart Schulzke here in Copenhagen at COP15, presently with Tom Friedman, who is the author of Hot, Flat, Crowded, and a very well-known columnist for the New York Times. And Tom, we're right on the cusp of obviously some big decisions, and nobody really knows what's going on. So I want to focus on a big question because you're somebody who is known to be good at addressing big picture things. Why is this so hard?
Well, it's hard because two reasons, I would say. One, you're dealing with 192 countries of all stages of economic development and prosperity, and finding a framework that can satisfy them all, even just the big developed and developing countries, extremely difficult. Secondly, the climate change, I would say, certainly all the delegates here, I think many of the press believe climate change, the science of climate change is real, that it is being exacerbated by man's activities. But still a lot of people unfortunately don't believe that. And absent the perfect storm, a storm that could end the climate debate without ending the world, it's very hard to get people to act and put restraints on themselves at a time of economic malaise or recession. You put those two together and it's not easy to close the deal.
Someone from the Times of London earlier this week suggested to me that the scientists and the elites, the journalistic community, need to do more to make the science clear, to make the case better to the public. Is that something that you would agree with in general terms?
Well, real scientists tend to focus on what they don't know rather than what they do, so they tend to focus on the 10% that's still uncertain as opposed to the 80 or 90% that's certain. So they're not used to public combat. One reason that they're being asked to do more is because the climate deniers and skeptics have so polluted the public mind by extracting one detail or another, and trying to make something out of it that somehow undermines all of the huge, massive body of science and observed evidence about climate change and global warming, that it's a real challenge. But yes, we live in a world where to name something is to own it. And if you can't name it, you don't own it. And right now the skeptics and the deniers are naming it maybe a lot better than those who really build their case on the science.
Two more questions, and I've already into, but
that would be four.
Yeah, that adds up to four.
Yeah.
The among this community of skeptics and deniers that you're talking about, do you feel that there is a sizable percentage among them who are acting in good faith, or is it not so much?
Yeah, I've never done a poll. Certainly, some people are legitimately skeptical. The climate is an extremely complex system. What moves it to do what it does, we don't always know all the time. But yet there's an enormous body of evidence to suggest that even with that natural variability, human activity is acting as a forcing function, which could have dangerous implications. Other people are put up to it by the fossil fuel industry, or certainly incentivized by them. So which is real, which is Memorex, hard to really separate. They're both a problem now.
Okay. So final question. What are the positives? I mean, there's been a lot of negatives and a lot of negative energy here, a lot of concern that all of the anticipation is ultimately going to come down to nothing. What are the positives here that you have found in terms of what all of these people and the world can take forward in this discussion from this point?
Well, the process that legitimates activism to deal with climate change, and this certainly does on a global scale, is certainly helpful. I'm not a big fan of this process. It's not really my favorite approach. I really am focused more on the United States and trying to use my own column and space to press the United States to take the lead, because I think it's in our economic interest, our strategic interest, our innovation interest to be a leader in clean tech. And I also believe that if we lead, if we just raw, naked lead, for our own economic and strategic reasons, more people will actually follow us by emulation than will ever do so by compulsion of an international non-binding treaty without real verification mechanisms.